Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 185 at scavengerlife.com. As I say every week, and we are talking about what's going on in our store, as we say every week.
That's right. Here we are. It is Sunday. I guess maybe our heads aren't really in the game just because it's, or at least mine isn't. It's cold here. We're sitting by a warm fire. It's almost like I just want to fall asleep.
Yeah, but we have been doing a lot of work this week.
It's been a very exciting week for us, which is why it's strange that I don't have as much energy as I do right now. But let me start it with the story. Ryan.
Okay.
Can I start with the story?
I see you have a story.
So, this week we went to the dentist, was one of the things we did as good adults. And this is kind of an interesting time in our life because I think this is the first time I've ever been to a dentist consistently, like every 6 months for the past 2 or 3 years now.
Other than when you were a kid, right? I mean, did your parents bring you to the dentist frequently? Mine did.
I honestly don't remember going to the dentist like all the time, like regularly.
Yeah.
But, I did go to the dentist and had cavities and all that stuff.
Because I had braces, so dental work was a huge part of my life for like my childhood.
Right. I feel like, maybe I just forget. I remember maybe when I was real small, but definitely when I was a teenager, I don't remember going.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't definitely when I was in college. I didn't when I was, in my 20s and even into my 30s.
I will say this just as a side note, you are extremely lucky at how well your teeth have become. Because a lot of people do, like I do not have that. Like I get cavities all the time. I've had tons of dental work. I have to go to the dentist. And when I don't, I'm totally screwed. Yeah. As we've seen.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I've been blessed with is good teeth. But although I've had to work anyway, let me get back to the story, please.
Hey, if you're going to tell a story, I'm going to interrupt you.
I know, it seems that way. Okay, so, and, it's interesting, too, because, I'm at that point in my life where when I know I have to go to the dentist, it's like I take a shower, I shave, I put on my nice clothes. It's
my God.
I mean,
no, it's true.
That's a good thing too.
You're like it's a thing.
Yeah, like I'm there and I want to kind of impress a little bit.
You're like I'm an adult. Yeah, I'm doing this.
But we went together and you went first, so I was in the waiting room and there was this guy that came in. So I'm 42, right?
So how old you are? 41, 42. Yeah. Around that. What year are you?
I don't know. 1973.
You're supposed to know that. 42, almost.
Okay.
Yeah.
Almost 42. I'm 41. Sorry.
Yeah.
And this guy comes in. He's probably in his late 40s.
Okay.
And he's very nicely dressed. Just like in the kind of khakis and like Eddie
a
Bauer,
button-down shirt.
Eddie Bauer way. And he comes in and he's like super friendly and he's talking to his receptionist. And it very quickly becomes clear that he's there to just try and sell her something or sell the office something. And he gives the whole pitch. And what it is, he's selling books of coupons for $150. And he says like proceeds go to some kind of like hungry kids or something. And he wants to leave her with these coupons, and then he says, I'll come back for them, and you can pass them around the office, and maybe you guys might want to buy a bunch of them. And it's very uncomfortable because, she is being very polite and doesn't want to tell him no, and she's just trying to say, well, someone else makes these decisions, not me, the office manager. And anyway, I only bring it up because it just reminds me of, like, when I was 19 years old, I was living in San Diego for a summer with a friend of mine.
Yeah.
And we were looking for jobs, and we found a job in the paper where it said it paid a lot of money. And we go to this warehouse one day, and basically they made me drive around with this guy, and this is what we did.
Yep.
We would go around to dentists and doctors' offices, and we would leave or try to leave boxes of toys. And the idea would be is that it was also to feed hungry kids, and we would leave there hoping that when we came back, someone in the office would buy some of them. And the thing I remember, though, is how humiliating it was because no one wanted us there. No one wanted these things. And it was just so sad, and I just remember thinking, and I only did that for one day only.
One day, yeah, you were just like, no.
And none of the money was going to hungry kids either. And
so what, was it a scam, or was it just like...
I mean, I guess it was a scam in the sense of, I guess I wasn't around long enough to see where the money actually went, but I mean, the money was supposed to go and pay us. Right. But, I mean, people did get toys, but it was just such a horrible way of life. And I just think, like, that was one of those jobs or those experiences where it just made me feel like I got to do something better with my life than, like, be at this a level of work. Now, look, God bless anyone that, you know, has to do these kind of jobs, but it's not something I wanted to do. And it makes me grateful, too, sitting in that dentist's office and seeing this guy doing that I can pay for the dentist, that we have an eBay business, and that, you know, we make the money we make now.
Basically, you had like a super flashback when that happened. You were like, oh my God, that was me.
Yeah.
I've done that before. Like, I worked for a bunch of different nonprofits, like right out of college, and we would do canvassing. And some of it was on the streets of Boston.
Well, when if you say canvassing, like fundraising.
Yeah, it's fundraising for the nonprofit. Right. I mean, so you're either going door to door in a suburban neighborhood. Right. Everyone's had these people come to their door. Right. Or you've seen them on the street too. You're stopping people in the streets. And that was part of training. Right. So you had to do it. You were like, it was a nightmare. But it was so crazy because there were some people that were so good at it. Right. They were like the cheerleaders, where they were just like, it doesn't matter if they reject you. It's still, I was just like, I can't. Yeah. I can't do it. I quit. I was like, this is the worst possible use of my time.
I mean, there are definitely some people that are good at sales. And actually, I had another job when I was older. And it was a job I actually enjoyed, strangely, where I was selling things on the phone. Yes. But that was where they called us, so they were already interested. And I was actually strangely kind of good at it, but it was a moment in my life for about a year where I needed to have a job like that, and there were some good people in the office I was at. But
right, but it's different than cold calls. Like cold calling, or whatever, canvassing, or what that guy was doing is such a nightmare sometimes. Yeah. If you're not good at it and you just can't bring yourself to be good at it.
I just remember seeing the girl like awkwardly turn him down, and he was like really upbeat, and he was like, okay, I'll be back and talk to this other person. And then he left, and I saw him walk down the sidewalk and walk down the street to some other place, and I just think, oh my God, that's the kind of day that I'm just glad I don't have to have anymore.
Yeah, you definitely gain perspective when you see that.
Yeah, I mean, it's why I would rather dig in boxes of junk all day long than to have to ask people for money to buy coupons or toys.
I would rather sit donations on my couch and list stuff. Yeah. List weird stuff on the internet.
Okay, but you aren't here to hear about that stuff. You're here to hear about
numbers. Yep. Boring numbers.
Let's talk about it's numbers. This is our business. I mean, this is a weird podcast where we're not telling you how to sell. We're basically sharing with you how we sell. And the proof of how we sell is basically the numbers that we share each week, so you can see what we actually make, you know, if you choose to work at it like we do. Okay, so our gross profit this week was $2,300.
Thank God.
And for those of you who listen to us regularly, this is twice as much as we made it last week.
It is double what we made last week. So that happened.
Right. So we made $1,200 last week. So we made almost $2,400.
Yeah.
You know, and that's one of those things, there's no real reason for it, but we'll talk about it. We sold 55 items this week, and last week it was 25. So we sold more than twice.
It's so weird. And I mean, we just have to remind ourselves and each other, that's just how it goes. Like, that's just what happens when you sell on eBay. Sometimes you'll make twice the amount you made the week before, and there's no way to know why.
There's a level of helplessness where we can't force people to buy from us, and you just have to have your inventory up there. And just some weeks, for some reason, there's a rash of buyers.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to break those averages down a bit more, so our average price was $41, almost $42. So
good average price.
That's good. So under $30, we sold 18 items for under $30. That always surprises me. I mean, we always promote selling things $30 or more. So I'm always surprised when we sell as many things under $30.
Yeah.
I just think in our inventory what happens is we'll go to an auction and we'll buy box lots. And those of you who do this know, you get like a big box for $5 to $10, and it's like, you're only buying it because there's a couple things that are cool, but then you get all these other things, and we're the kind of people who are like, well, we might as well just put it up because it didn't cost us anything, really.
Yeah, and if you can sell it for between $20 and $25 for whatever you're selling, like some wine glasses or
even
whatever.
Like $19.99, things like a spoon or and we sold we sold a bunch of mugs, coffee mugs for like $12.
And it's so funny though, because like when you say like a spoon, but seriously, when have you ever in your life spent $20 on a spoon?
Right.
People do.
Yeah,
I mean, I sell that stuff all the time.
Pot tops,
It's just like...
so I forget that we do intersperse those things with our higher dollar items, and
it'll round out the week though. That's the thing. It's like items like that, although when I'm listing them, I'm like, damn, this thing's only worth $15, but I picture myself at a flea market, and no one would ever pay $15 for this thing at a flea market, but on eBay they will.
And so, again, these are normally things that we don't specifically choose to buy. They just kind of come to us in lots of other things. And
we want to sell them.
We're the kind of people where if there's something cool about it, we're willing to take a chance on it because we wanted to get it back in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so over $75, we sold 9 of those things.
That's amazing.
So, we sold a good number of things for, $80, $100, a couple $150 items.
There were quite a few high dollar items this week, which I was extremely pleased with.
Your highest dollar item was $150, and it was a frame print.
Yes, and you'll see it on the video too this week.
And so let's put this in its perspective from our point of view. So when we're making $2,300 in a week, that means we're averaging more than $300 a day.
Yes.
That's when we're just like over the moon.
Yeah.
The atmosphere at our house is very lively. It's very happy because it's where you're selling, 6 to 12 items a day. So basically every other hour there's, something that's
yesterday
selling.
Was crazy. It was like, and not a lot of them were high dollar items, but we were selling something every hour, and one of those items was $100.
Yep.
I was like, yes.
We were getting good offers on items.
Oh my God, yeah.
And yesterday was a Saturday, and we just chose to just not do anything. So we were just watching Netflix and videos.
It was great.
And it was just like one of those when everything's just clicking right, where you're having a chill day.
Yeah.
You're sitting there on the couch and just things are selling on your phone and you're talking about it.
It's great.
So, we need to enjoy these weeks just like the other weeks where we aren't making as much money. We're being aware that it's a slow week. So we need to be aware of both.
Right.
Now, another interesting number I just throw in there is that the number of items that didn't have anyone who was watching them, but they still sold, was 11. So out of 55 items that sold, basically 20% of those items that sold didn't have anyone that was watching it. And I always just remind it's new people that is common for us, that we never look at how many people are watching things because that doesn't really have a real...
I personally look to see how many people are watching things right when I list stuff, just to be like, is this something that like people are interested in?
So is it underpriced because a lot
is
of
it underpriced? Like, did I research this not with the right keywords? But other than that, I just let it go. I mean, I have items. I think I sold something this week that had 50 watchers on it.
Wow.
And it didn't say, oh, you know what? It was a piece of fabric. It was this really like crazy piece of fabric. I show it in the video, and I was like, why are there so many watchers and no one bought it for over a year?
And then
finally someone bought it. So what?
Trigger,
like
right.
it wasn't like so rare it was worth more than what I was charging, which was $36.
Right. But but it was also a pretty small piece of fabric.
Yeah, it was less than 2 yards. It was like a yard and a half.
Right.
So things like that, you can't pin too much on it. Those numbers sometimes, because it could just be other sellers, who are like, oh, that's neat. I wonder if it'll sell.
Or somebody put it on Pinterest and then suddenly all these people started to watch it. And again,
yeah, it's just a bookmark.
For me, I watch a lot of things more as a bookmark because eBay doesn't really have like a bookmark.
Right.
Well, I guess no, I take that back. They do have a ability to watch things,
but it's
put them
limited
in groups. Anyway,
yeah.
So and then its number that someone asked that we start to do is how many items we actually listed this week. And you know what?
How do you figure that out?
I just go through our active listings and sort by date, and then I just start from February 2nd was the beginning of last week, and you can just count.
But some stuff did sell that I listed, like some stuff sold right away.
Okay, so we listed at least 109 items. It might have been 114 because we did sell
like
some
120,
things.
I would say.
I mean, all of these numbers we're sharing it with you are not like it's robotic, perfect numbers. These are me going through and kind of pulling things out. They're, might be a little bit above or below, but they're the best that I can pull out. It's within about, half an hour of searching.
And I mean, that's
so
we listed approximately 110 items.
Right. And this is because Ryan this week was a monster lister. I didn't list any because I was taking photos.
The reason I was listing like a crazy person was because it was so slow last week.
Right.
I was like, I need to do something that gets me into action and makes me feel like motivated and powerful and in control.
Right.
And it seems to have helped our numbers.
I mean, we have no proof that a listing means things will sell.
Right.
But it never hurts.
Well, I think the weird thing is like, I feel like the algorithm is not 1-to-1. You list something, you sell something. But I swear to God, the moment I started listing, and actually we put up some auctions for artwork, which we don't normally do, but we are doing some auctions, which we could probably talk about next week when they're done. I just felt like sales just started going crazy after that.
Right.
Whether it's a 1-to-1, relationship, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we were selling old stuff, really old stuff, old sweaters, old shoes.
Because we were away for 2 weeks, and we really hadn't listed for about 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
and our sales were kind of low. Although, to be fair, our sales were great if you consider we didn't do anything. So, like Ryan says, listing is our way of having control. It makes you feel like you're doing something positive and you're going forward.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not here to beat up on anyone, but when I see people comment on the blog and they talk about slow stores and they talk about their store having 200 items or it taking a long time to do anything. I mean, it is possible if you do this full time. Like that's what we did all week. We treated our eBay store like a full-time job. We didn't do anything else. 8 hours a day, sometimes a little bit more.
Yeah.
All day. We had no other projects, nowhere to go. And, Ryan listed over 100 items, and I took pictures. And again, let's be clear, too. The way we list is I take photos, and I write out a title and a description and a measurement. Well, not a description.
But generally, I mean, I
type in some details.
Yeah, I use your details all the time.
And it's measurements, and I put those into Google Docs. We have a folder online in Google Docs that have all these things. So when Ryan does her listing, she's opening up those folders, and she's basically data entry.
Yeah, it's data entry.
I mean, I don't want to downplay what you do.
No, but it is, I mean, there's research, as we always talk about, especially in those folders of weird miscellaneous stuff. You're like, oh God, I'm researching every single item. But that's the thing that we talk about, the drudgery of listing, because you're just sitting there and you're researching and you're listing. But the great thing is, like, that is the gateway to sales. I mean, if you do not put that thing online...
That's the bottleneck, right?
I mean, I was looking at... we both said this week. I was looking in folders of, like, miscellaneous stuff from, like, a couple months ago that hasn't been listed. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this item X has not been listed. Like, it's been sitting here for so long, you know? Like, get that thing online so it can be sold. So, you know, that stuff piles up.
Just to finish up on the numbers here, so because we've been doing this blog for almost 2 years now, I can actually share numbers from last year, and actually starting in March this month, I can actually share numbers from 2013 too. So we could actually start.
We did numbers that long ago, so we started doing numbers a while ago.
Oh, wait, you're right.
2013?
We started the blog in March 2013, but we didn't start doing the numbers till
2014, I think.
Or partway, so actually partway into 2013.
So we'll have to go see when our numbers are. Because it's actually really good data where you're like, the first week of March was X, you know, number of sales.
So why don't I share that data?
Share that data. So last year, this week, right?
So last year, this week, we sold 54 items. So basically, we sold the same as we sold this week. We made $2,200. Right. This week, we made $2,300. So really, our sales were about the same.
So weird.
So it's interesting. You know, obviously, there's no way to compare, but it's always just interesting to see. You know what? I do remember it last year. We had a great February. I
remember that
every single week. This year, February was pretty slow, except for this last week.
I just wonder if this sounds really weird, but I just wonder if it's a weather-related thing. I was talking to my sister up in Boston, and she's just like, it's just a nightmare. Like my friends, you know, it takes them like 2 hours each way to get to work, and it's one of those things where, like, if your lifestyle is being like crunched down upon, there's not much like extra spending going on. I don't know. It's just something to think about.
It's just interesting to see. So some of the things we sold this week, you know, things. This is exciting. It's for us because, you know, Ryan does that video almost every week where she shows videos of stuff that we've sold, because it's just interesting when you're junkers is like us scavengers. Yeah. What you can find and what people will buy. So,
and for how much. Right. That always surprises me, even though I'm the one that listed it, I'm the one that priced it, and then someone bought it for that price. I'm like, whoa.
But again, we feel confident because it's research. Like, we sold Henkel's knife. It's just like a little paring knife, but
it's a 6-inch knife. It's small,
but you know, it's a nice brand, and someone bought it for $40. And this is
one little knife.
And these are knives that I always go to the silverware bin where there's just a bunch of junk, and every so often you'll find a really nice knife. You know, I probably paid 50 cents for it.
And that's because Mr. Customer Service taught us that. He's like, I sell knives all the time. And in my head, I was thinking like those fancy hunting knives, you know, like bow knives. No, he's talking about chef's knives.
Right, because, you know, people will lose a knife in a set, or maybe they're just trying to build their own set, you know,
exactly.
Whatever. But, so that's just something cool we sold. We sold, actually, this week, we sold more shoes and, like, sweaters and coats than we have been.
Yeah, that was great.
We sold a cool flatware chest.
Yes. This flatware chest, I videotaped it, so you'll see it.
Can you explain to people what that is?
Okay.
I'm sure a lot of people know. I didn't know why these were important.
Okay, so special. Back in the day when you had actual silverware, like made out of silver and silver plate, which you can still get, but you had a chest that it went into. You didn't,
box,
yeah. You didn't just like put it in the drawer because it's silver. You have to put it on special fabric, like tarnish resistant fabric. You don't have to unless you have servants to polish your silver for you, which people did. But they came in these chests. And, you know, like into the 50s and stuff for just stainless, they came in chests because then it was like fancy, you know? And I'm sure other people know more about this than I do. But the thing about it is people look for those chests because they want to match it to like the silverware they have. Like, I don't know why, but they do. So I had this one chest that we bought that was from the late 1800s. You could tell it was that old because it was tiger oak. It was lined in velvet, like real actual velvet. And the inside had this really crazy shape, and it was signed by J.E. Caldwell, which is a very high-end silver maker. Like, if you look up J.E. Caldwell, you find stuff that's worth a lot of money. So I listed it at $199 best offer. Someone came in with $100. No, it was $75 offer. I said $150, and then we settled on $130.
Right, and this is one of those things we listed. And someone
in one day it sold.
Right. And it's again, we could have maybe held out but I
was happy for $130.
We were in the mood to sell. And this is an example of something where we'd been buying these boxes, but this one was particularly old.
It's special.
I think we paid about $10 for it, so we were willing to pay a little bit more. And we didn't particularly know that this one was going to sell as well as it did. But again, you just do the research. It's got a label on it. You put it into Google or eBay. I mean, it's just...
Well, my research for this in particular was no one else had a chest by this company. That's number one. So you're like, I'm the only one with this. Number two, the actual silver and silverware by this company sells for a lot of money, thousands of dollars. So I'm like, all right, $199, that's a good price.
And the box itself had some damage.
It had a lot of damage.
So, but it had a patina. It was
beautiful. It was quite gorgeous.
Things like I bought a big box of train magazines.
Oh my god! I mean, it's so hilarious.
And these were kind of new. From the
2000s.
2005.
Where did you buy those? Do you remember?
At the thrift shop.
At the thrift store. I didn't know if it was from an auction.
No.
I just wondered. Okay, so at the thrift store.
Yeah, and it was just in a big box, and no one is one of them. And
yeah, it just looks like junk.
But, I know people, there are guys that love trains, and, someone bought them almost immediately for $40.
Yeah, we had 49 of them, and I listed them for $40, so less than $1 each. And somebody bought them overnight. I was thrilled because I wanted them out of storage because it's a big box.
And we sold another trophy, which was cool.
Oh my god!
We've been talking about that.
It was funny because people on the video, when they watched the video where I sold that trophy, there were several people who were like, "Why would anyone buy an old trophy?" But people buy them. I sold that other one this week.
I mean, it's like we talked about. I think either people buy them to re-give them away as a joke, maybe to someone's, whatever.
Like an office party or like some hipsters play kickball and someone gets an old soccer trophy or something.
Or someone said it could be kind of like a small team, of kids and someone just buys them because, or it could also just be because the reason why we buy them is that we buy the more vintage ones.
Yeah, like from the 70s.
They've got to have, to us, a certain style. Like very often they're made out of a metal and marble or metal and wood.
Right.
We try and stay away from the plastic
plasticky
gold ones that are kind of
I have
cheap.
had a few of those. But the cool ones for us are like the ones that have these like angels on them or cheerleaders or I have a bunch that are of horses. Right. Those are awesome. And they just look cool.
And the only reason why we bought these, because we normally don't buy them individually, is because we found a box of them and we could buy the whole box for really cheap. And that's why, again, this is an example of like these we sell for about $20. It's
20
$15
to
$30. $20. No,
some of the higher end ones, the ones that are all metal, I've sold for like $30.
So we're willing to sell them cheaper because we just got them for
a bunch of them. Yeah. And actually, the most hilarious ones are the cheerleaders that have the feathered hair from the 70s. Right. I'm just like, that is so incredible. Right. Like, they are just so cool. So we love those.
Another good sale was a tile, and this sold, again, another example of something, and this is not very common for us. It sold almost immediately.
It sold in 10 minutes. I posted this thing, and this woman must have had a search out, for these, because no way someone's just like browsing eBay every 10 minutes.
Well, I don't know if other people do this, but when people buy things from us, we'll often do research on them because they either have an email address that has a website attached to it, or they have their full name.
Research the
you can Google, and this was a Google. She works at Google.
Yeah,
she works in the sales department,
and
so she must be a tile.
She's
collector.
A tile collector, yeah.
And this is one of those examples of we're like, did we sell this for too cheap? Too cheap. But the thing is, we researched the best we could, and we got the highest price. Yeah. Right? Or do others sell for
No,
this much?
So the thing about this tile is it's signed by a company or a person, and I couldn't find anything on these people. I could find similar types of tiles. Some of them sell for hundreds of dollars, but they're usually like of a very particular style and collection of people that make them at a certain period. And so I was like, you know what, I'm putting this one tile up for $150 best offer, and we settled on $130 again. That's my magic number of the week. And $130 for this tile that's been sitting on my shelf for like 6 months. I'm thrilled. Yeah. I don't think it's worth much more than that, right. Honestly.
Yeah, again, instead of being paranoid and thinking we sold it for too cheap, we like to think like we found the exact right person, a right. person that's really into collecting. And for her, there's an intrinsic value to this tile
right.
that very few people would ever see,
right.
because for the tile she has at home, this will fit in just perfectly, but to
right.
most people, it wouldn't be worth anything.
It just looks like a trivet,
so
or whatever.
We're glad to pass it on.
So I was happy with a sale that happened in 10 minutes for over $100.
And then just the last thing I have is we sold just a lot of cool, like a smorgasbord of stuff.
Yeah.
Is we sold a cowboy hat for $100. Yep. And this is, and for those of you that sell hats, it's really super hit or miss.
Yes.
Like, you can often find cowboy hats all day long, and you can list them all day long, and some just seem to pop for people. And we sold a hat for $100, and it was a
Stetson,
and it was beaver fur. So those are always the ones.
I think the problem with those is a lot of the Stetsons made of beaver fur. I'll see completed auctions for like $400. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always like, I have like 5 of these hats. Why hasn't mine sold for $150? Like,
right.
What's the difference?
Right.
I don't know.
But the cool thing with hats, again, we just list them. They're there, and then people buy them.
They sell over time.
So this past week, like as we said, we treated our eBay business like a full-time job. We don't always do that, but this week we did, and sales were good.
Yeah. I think people are going to be like, see, that's what happens when you list.
That's a good, to me, that's a good theory to, it's believe in. If you believe that a listing will help at your sale, that's a good thing to believe in.
That's the only theory you should believe in. Anything else is a crock of bull.
A lot of the other conspiracies things are more a negative, where like if you don't delete your listings and then re-list them as new,
you'll
then
never
you'll
get
never
to the
sell.
top of the list.
Those are when you're spinning at your wheels. If you're just listing its new things, then you're growing. Anyway, the other thing we did this week was we paid all of our taxes.
So in one day, we paid our taxes and went to the dentist.
Yeah,
so it was very
in our adult day.
Very mature.
But people have been talking about this on the blog, and we get a lot of questions about this, a lot of emails about taxes, and and look, this is what we do. We have an accountant. We have Harold is his name.
Harold.
He's just a local tax accountant, and we use GoDaddy bookkeeping, and GoDaddy does good because it spits out a worksheet.
Yes, a spreadsheet of all our expenses. I'm like, what did we spend on travel?
And because Orion keeps track of that info every month.
Yeah.
Like
today is the day I do it.
Right. So then at the end of the year, it took you about an afternoon, right?
Yeah.
To
less than an afternoon, but yeah.
And so we take all this stuff to him, and then he does all of our taxes for us. He charges $700 because he does taxes for both of us because we aren't a married couple. So
two individuals and a business.
And a business.
Yeah.
$700. It seems like a lot, but for us, we're so happy to pay it. And then he files.
He files for us.
It's for us, and then we just wrote a check, to pay our taxes. And you know what? We're happy to do it.
And that payment to him is tax deductible.
Yep.
It's a business expense.
That's true.
So...
Yeah. And so some people are really into taxes, or maybe
taxes.
are better at accounting. So some people do Intuit.
Oh, they do it themselves.
And that's cool. If people want to do that,
if you can
fine.
do it and not get audited, because I did my taxes by myself for years. When we just had whenever you worked for a company, you were just like. Right. The 1040 EZ, it takes 2 seconds because you have no other income than your job. But when you have more than your income from your job, like when I left my job, no, do not do your taxes by yourself.
That was when you started to do it's freelance work, and you had a lot of income from different places. It was not
fun. I did get audited, and I owed money.
Right. So it's for us. Even if that $700 will save us a day of having to figure out expenses and paperwork, or it's worth it for us.
Every penny.
So
every penny.
We're happy to be. The other thing this week was I feel like I was kind of grumpy on the blog this week. I was kind of when people would post things, I was feeling kind of grumpy because sometimes it bothers me, and it's nothing personal to anybody. But sometimes people ask questions that could easily be solved by doing a Google search.
Yes, very quickly solved.
And so I just want to promote the idea of I love when people ask its questions. I love when we all come together and help each other out. But I don't like it when people are being a little bit lazy.
Okay, so Google first, ask second.
Right, and so
that's my thing.
So if you Google a question like, how much is a store subscription on eBay? I mean,
you'll find that answer quickly.
If you actually type that question into Google, it will give you a link with the answer. Right. Now, if you have a specific question about that, that's cool. But it just it kind of just helps our blog not feel like a lazy blog, or like a blog by a bunch of people that are using the blog instead of using Google
or using eBay help, because I mean, you can Google it, but you can also look it up on the eBay help section.
Or sometimes people email us questions like specifically about some item that they've sold, and they're having a problem with a buyer, and they're asking us like we're eBay reps. And I always email people act like, you know what, this is your business. You should call eBay. Right. eBay is your partner in this. And so if you're having a specific question, just call eBay, because that's what we do. And again, I say this with love, just because I want the blog
to be a community, not just like a help forum.
I've seen blogs and forums get bogged down and kind of shrivel and die because all the smart people leave because questions start to get too silly. And so I just really want to make sure we're a robust community that keeps it growing and getting smarter as kind of like these business people doing eBay.
Right.
We're just saying we want people to feel empowered for their own business. Right. So if you need help, first just turn to Google or eBay, and then you come to the community when you have something very specific that can't be answered online, or that you want to share some information that you found, And we also want to thank you for...
This is hilarious.
Why?
Just because we're like, don't send us these stupid questions. Thanks for all the donations.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
So, I don't know. Maybe people donate us to us because we answer every single email that people send.
We do. We
us,
answer every email.
And we try to answer very fast, too. But we do thank everyone for sending us. They're kind of more tips. I think donations like we're begging for money.
Yeah.
It's more just tips, more shows of appreciation for the blog, and it's good for us because it's given us some funds to do some kind of cool projects that we're going to do on the blog.
Right.
And, it's good because, blogs, we've been around for a while in different online groups, and we've seen communities and blogs die just because they go unattended or there's no a love. It's for the blog itself. And we put quite a bit of work into it, and it's some coins here and there help kind of show that people appreciate it, and so it's good.
Yes, so thank you for attending the tip jar. We are very appreciative.
So, customer issue?
Okay, so the only customer... Well, I just had one yesterday where someone bought something outright from us, a little Revereware pan, and then they wrote to us and they were like, I don't remember buying this at all. Can you cancel this? Which I thought was a weird thing. Yeah, wrote to us like
6 hours afterwards.
Yeah.
To me, that's my... And I've said this, it's before... There are people that get drunk
and buy stuff
on eBay, and then they forget they bought it, or when they get it, they're just angry because their life is an angry mess. So anyway,
so that was funny. But I also had a weird thing happen to me as a buyer. I bought something, and like people were talking about with first class mail, it took over 15 days to get to my house from California, which is across the country, but. I bought it. We went to Colombia.
Real quick, how long do you think it should take?
Oh, it should take like 3 days to get here. It should
in first class.
Yeah, first class.
Okay.
Maximum 5 days.
Okay.
So what's funny is I bought it. We went to Colombia. We came back. I still didn't have it. So I opened an item not received because I was like, "There's no tracking. There's nothing." And then it got here the next day. So eBay closed the case because it was marked delivered. Whatever. So I went to leave feedback today, and it was actually going to be positive. I did leave positive feedback. I was like, thanks, whatever. I got it. It was fine. But then eBay removed that feedback automatically. So I just thought that was interesting that, like, when a case closed, that I'm not allowed to leave any kind of feedback, not even positive.
I think it's because, you left... a defect because you said what item not described? Or?
No, item not received.
Item not received.
But that defect should be closed if it shows as delivered.
Yeah, for some reason I think that's kind of like an automatic thing where they were just they basically just wiped it all clean.
Yeah, I guess so.
Anything that was in there.
I just thought that was interesting. Obviously, because I'm very rarely a buyer to see a situation like that happen. So I guess that must happen with. People leaving us feedback when a case closes. And
this is another thing, and it's not bad, it just happens. Someone bought, a girl in college said she wanted to buy a pair of equestrian boots from us, those really nice riding boots.
Horse riding boots.
And we had it up for what?
I think it was like $199 and we took $110.
Right. So because she gave us a story, she's a college student, she's poor, who knows? We were happy to sell it.
We're like, fine, $110, great.
She got them, and then she said that the calves were too small, so she was sending it back. She said, it's no problem. It wasn't our fault, so she was going to pay to have it shipped back.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, Brian talked about this on the blog. eBay now has a thing where when she sends it back, you can choose to refund her original shipping
now.
Or not.
Right.
We're not going to.
Of course not.
Because we didn't do anything wrong. We'll gladly accept it back. And then the other thing is we have the 20% restocking fee.
So that's $22.
So she's going to pay $22 plus all the
shipping to return them.
And that's very clear. It's not
it's listed everywhere.
It's not a hidden thing. And honestly, I think it's a positive thing because she took it out of our inventory.
Yeah.
Took it offline. It could have sold to somebody else.
Right.
And so she's basically paying for that, a service and all a work of getting out of inventory, packing it, shipping it,
relisting it, putting it back in inventory, all that
stuff. I think that's an interesting change that eBay did, and one of those things that they never talk about, but that those of us that really kind of keep an eye on eBay, I guess enough people complained or something where eBay now makes that its return, the original
shipping optional. It was so weird when they first started hassle-free that if someone bought an item of clothing that didn't fit and it wasn't your fault, you had to give them the original shipping back. It was so weird.
But see, I think that's how Amazon is, right? I think Amazon...
My experience is that, yes, Amazon is like that, unless there's got to be some way to...
I mean, I think that was their way of just being like
Amazon.
You know, you're trying to be like Amazon. You're just trying to be like the customer needs to be coaxed. And, yeah. So anyway, but for a small seller is like us...
That's very helpful.
That's a helpful thing.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where we have to, publicly say that's a good change and it's positive.
It's very helpful for us.
And if someone that buys or might buy from us doesn't want to buy because we charge a restocking fee, that's their choice.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe people will be like, I'll only buy things from people that don't have restocking fee. That's fine.
99% of customers don't look at anything that has anything to do with any details.
Right.
They look at picture number one and then they purchase it.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
So we get people send us emails every week, and people send us like cool little stories that we're, if they're cool, we'll share them on the podcast. I think that they're neat because it's about scavengers. So there's this story of this photographer. She was a woman, and she was French, and she was
French?
A nanny.
Oh, I thought she was American.
She was French, and she was a nanny. Obviously, you can fact check me.
Yeah.
And anyway, she took photos throughout her life on the streets of Chicago
and New York and different places.
And the interesting thing is she was totally unknown. She died. She had all of her stuff in storage, and it went to auction. And some guy happened to buy all of these. They were like 4x5, like
4x6, like a medium format.
4x6, yeah.
Her camera was a Rolleiflex.
Right.
You can see it in her photos. So the thing about this is,
and her name is
Vivian Mayer. Her name is Vivian Mayer, and I actually heard about this on NPR a couple years ago, and I bought the book because I was like, these are the most incredible photographs I've ever seen. The thing about her work is, it's not that she's just like an amazing photographer. Like, this is like a gold mine of history because she took photos of people. Like,
she would be out with her kids in the park or her nanny kids or whatever.
And they're just like these amazing portraits, and the history of like a city is like portrayed in her photos. I have a tab open of her self-portraits. I just like look at them every day because they're. Wow. I'm serious. Okay. Like, her stuff is amazing. I mean, I'm looking at our bookshelf right now. We have like a ton of photography books.
We're into photography.
Yeah. So like her work. I think what's also interesting is, and this has happened to a couple people who are like outsider artists, where people find their stuff way after they've died, and it's like, whoa, this artwork is incredible.
Yeah, and and we will a link to it on the blog so you can go and check it out it yourself. And there's now a documentary about it, but it's just a cool story because it was a scavenger, who found all this stuff, and he's the one that kind of brought it
to life.
What's interesting to me is, and I never knew this, so he can own the actual physical. It was thousands of negatives and prints
and rolls of
and
undeveloped
diaries
film.
It was like all of her film. So he can own that, but for some reason he can't own the copyright. So he's had to try and find a relative and pay the relative for the copyrights to, I guess, print the work. I don't really quite understand it. So for some reason, I just thought if you bought something at an auction, it's yours forever. So
it is really interesting because I did hear about that controversy too, where he's like, how am I going to find anyone who's related to this woman? She didn't have kids. She never got married.
He found some like distant cousin and paid that guy. And then a lawyer found someone else who he says is a closer relative. And now, and and this stuff is worth a lot.
It's quite odd because it's like, who determined the worth? Like, someone obviously thought it wasn't worth anything because they were just going to sell her storage locker.
Right.
So it's like, it's weird that it's like, the collector who bought it was like, I'm saying this is worth something.
he's made it's worth a while because now she's collectible, and it's that whole art world thing. If you can make a story around an artist, suddenly it becomes valuable because people want to own a part of that story.
But I think what's interesting is that he did that work.
Yeah.
So why isn't he able to? It's like we talk about with eBay, because when we put stuff up, like a piece of artwork or that sketchbook that we had, and they're like, "That's my great aunt," and you're like, "So someone threw this away, and I found it, and I put it online."
I guess that's the thing in courts. Anything can be argued. I mean, whether or not that lawyer will win or not, I don't know. But it's just cool, though, because it's kind of like one of those stories of, like, what all of us scavengers love to hear, where if you find not only a valuable gold mine, because I'm sure there's a monetary...
Right.
That this guy that found it has now become a wealthy.
Right.
But he also brought it alive, whereas, in the 40s and its 50s... there were a lot of men that were famous as street photographers. It's cool that there's now
a woman
in there that did just as good work, but just was never recognized.
I also think, a lot of those artists were very active in getting their stuff published, and she didn't do. Right. I don't think she did any of that. Yeah, I think she was like a recluse.
She's
basically.
kind of a kooky.
But
good for her.
I think also what makes scavengers like us crazy, and I'm sure other people are hearing this and thinking the same thing, how much amazing either artwork or objects have been thrown away.
It would break my heart to hear. I just have to feel that there's enough of us who are going through everything, and that the good stuff always kind of comes to some more news. So I'm sure you guys saw this. So eBay has it's formatted the sold emails that you get.
So when you get an email that's like, you sold this item, it's like this nice new format, which is great. But when it's an item that was a best offer, there's no longer the send invoice link, which isn't a problem if you're on your computer. But when you're on your phone, it's almost impossible to send an invoice. That's the only thing that I have an issue with.
And this is the one thing that we've asked eBay for a long time. I mean, when we were... eBay did their last, big conference. What was it? eBay...
On location.
In person or whatever.
It was in 2013 or something.
We talked to the developers of the eBay app.
The mobile app,
And we were like, please let us send invoices from the mobile app. But
it's so insane that is not available. Because we sell so much stuff on Best Offer, and you're like, the only way I can do that is through the computer. So,
Another thing is, I followed the blog Online Selling Experiment, and we actually interviewed
Ryan. He has the same name as
Ryan. Yeah, about a year or so ago. And it's interesting. He's like a really young guy, and he started this business where he wanted to sell. He was doing kind of eBay, but now he's all Amazon. So he's an Amazon guy, arbitrage, wholesale, private label. And, he is much more, I don't say he's more ambitious than we are. He just has a different take on what he's doing. Yeah. Like, he's going big. But the cool thing is, like us, he's sharing his numbers every month, where he shares how much he spends, how much he makes.
Yeah, that's important.
The numbers of things. I'm going to link to a post that he just did, because I find it very interesting. I love the kind of a lifestyle post.
Yeah.
Right? So he explains a day or a week of his life, what his week is like these days of selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it entails, he rents a warehouse or a small, I don't think it's huge, but a space.
Yeah.
He's got people that ship for him. Wow. It sounds like full time. He's got friends that he pays to buy for him and sell for him, and he's worked out some kind of deal. He shows a photo of one time when he went to Target, and he literally had a line of 15 carts full of stuff that he's putting into his truck. I don't know how
amazing. I wonder what Target thinks.
They probably don't care.
Whatever.
Hey, as long as you. So it's so interesting, and his thing is he's trying to get to where he talks about instead of being self-employed, he wants to be a business owner, and we think of ourselves as a business, but I guess in some ways,
self-employed.
I guess in some ways we are more self-employed. And his, I'm sure he reads those those business books. Their idea of running a business is when you don't do anything and everyone does something for you. So where you could walk away and money just comes in because your income is paying for other people to do all the work. Yeah. And it's, it's interesting. He seems to be getting there. I've been wanting to see his numbers from all of 2014. Yeah. He posts them every single month.
You want to see a breakdown?
I'd love to see a breakdown of his, of how much he made after all expenses.
You should write to him because I bet he would do that. Yeah. Like the yearly breakdown.
Right. I really appreciate his blog and what he does, even though definitely not something that I would ever be interested in, that kind of...
that level.
Of selling stuff, toys and health products and all that.
Well, retail arbitrage, that's what he's doing.
But it is cool. Unlike a lot of those guys, he really seems to be pretty open and upfront. And, if you're interested in selling on Amazon, he would be the guy I would go to. And I think he's going to start putting out books probably. I mean, he'd be dumb if he didn't. I'm sure people would buy that stuff like crazy because, people love to figure out how to make millions of dollars for free.
Get rich.
So we had someone email us about a website. I think someone had linked to it before on the blog, but it's called watchcount.com.
Okay, so Jake told us that there is a way on Watch Count to put in someone's username and see what they bought, because eBay no longer shows you anyone's purchase history. So it's kind of helpful because then you can see, when someone's asking a question about a certain kind of item, a very specific kind of item, is this an expert in that item? Do they only buy that kind of item? Great. So maybe your price can be stronger,
Yeah, so it's cool. And I was just asking him why eBay doesn't do it themselves, because I'm always interested why eBay doesn't just allow you to search deeper and expose more info. Why do they allow a third-party people to do all these things? And he just said, eBay's a big place. They have other things to do, and I don't know. I guess they would rather have other people do these things. It's just very strange.
It's interesting that they let this info out, though. I mean, it's not secret info. Like if he's able to grab it, it's available.
Yeah, I guess you just have to become part of their network. And he says he makes a living off the site because he gets affiliate links, from the stuff that people click on. So that's cool.
So
good
interesting
for him. I also saw or someone emailed me. Nope, a friend of mine sent me a link. He knows we sell on eBay, and I'm going to link to this this article. It's a good one. Just talking about how eBay and PayPal are splitting up. Right. So PayPal was a big income generator for the company. So now eBay will be by itself. And this article was just talking about how eBay could become cool again. Because what happened was the current CEO, John Donahue, I mean, he took over and he kind of tried to make eBay like Amazon. Because, Amazon's really cool and investors love to talk about Amazon.
Yeah.
But what this was saying was eBay actually has or had a real benefit that Amazon didn't. The fact that they had a really low overhead in the sense like they didn't have warehouses and all this staff that they had to pay to move stuff. They had just an army of people like us.
Distributed.
People really loved eBay, and those of us still do love eBay, but they were just saying that if eBay was smart, they would go back to the way it was. Not where they have to change all the rules again. I think the current rules are just showing the reality of online buying now versus 1999. But if they just really embrace the fact that there are small sellers, it's like us, tear down the kind of barriers to people getting on and selling stuff, and just, I mean, I feel like a lot of companies feel like they have to grow forever, like they have to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and sometimes like a company just needs to accept the fact that there's a growth rate and then there's a healthy, sustainable size, and it could just be an income generator for them. And I don't know, it's maybe people that buy stocks or investors because it's a public company, they don't really like that idea. They want it to grow forever, but that's just, hopefully that will happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we talk about where we're like, we don't want to, sometimes I feel like I want to, but we don't want to hire employees. Like, we are the size we like, we're manageable, and we make enough money to have a good life.
Right. I mean, we are like other, there's some business people that are like, okay, if I can make, $10,000, maybe I can make $100,000, and if I can make 100, maybe I can make $1 million. And it's definitely seems like a very American kind of mindset, and that's cool. Some people, they relish that challenge.
Sure.
I think we're the kind of sellers where we're celebrating just owning your life and your time. And so we think eBay could do the same thing. Just be happy being the flea market of the internet.
I like it better that way, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want another Amazon.
So in the comments of the blog, these are some of the things we learned this week. So Chris the coin guy who we interviewed about a year ago, and
a year ago? I think it was less than that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
A while ago.
A while ago. He actually sent me an email with an experiment that he is doing right now. He said he turned off all its its best offer on his stuff. So now everything, just buy it now. There's no way to send him an offer. And what he says is he's making more money now. His experiment or his hypothesis is that the make offer just encourages people to give, like they would buy it outright, but the make offer just gives them a discount that they don't need to make.
That they wouldn't have made otherwise, yeah.
I mean, he was encouraging me to try the experiment, or us.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're ready to do that.
I have a lot of things that I don't do best offer anymore because I'm confident on the price. So that is something that I've, cut back on. So
I asked Chris to maybe email me after a month or two and see if his sales continue to be strong or rise. My feeling was when, before we even knew about best offer, our sales were okay. When we threw best offer on items, our sales just went crazy, just because all these things that people were interested in but didn't want to pay the price we wanted, they're willing to come under. And
sometimes it's only a little bit under, though.
Right.
Like, if I have something listed for $50, they're like $45. Great, I'll take $5 off.
I think the other thing, too, for its make offer, I feel like that's the one part of eBay that they have over every other site we've ever been on. Etsy, Amazon, although I think Amazon started that on some categories.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that I can set a price, I can peg a price high, and then people can offer me things, and I can choose to take it or not.
Yeah, you don't have to take it.
I mean, people kind of go crazy.
Or you go back and forth.
I mean, people kind of go crazy about, I'm getting all these low offers. Who cares?
Just ignore them.
I just, if I'm not into selling it cheap, just ignore it.
Or counter.
But I like the fact that when things are slow, I can take low offers if I want to. Or like you said, we can go back and forth.
Yeah, you can counter offer.
Right.
It's easy.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to hear Chris's experiment to see how he feels about it. I was also, it's questioning too if he was just selling if mainly it was on the coins. Because I feel like, gold or silver coins have a set price, and there's no reason to have offers on prices because, that's kind of a set.
Yeah. And this stuff
value.
We sell is I just made up the value.
Right. Here's an old spoon,
You're just I want $20 for this.
The other thing, too, in the comments we've been talking about is
Nancy
made a video of how to make exceptions for global
Yes. So this was interesting because I followed Nancy's rules on how to make an exception for global shipping.
Because what we want to do is say we want global shipping everywhere, except to people in Canada, which were willing to do first class.
I was doing Canada and UK, which I was willing to do first class. The issue is when I did that, it actually turned off global shipping on my entire store. I don't know why it did that. It seems like quite a bug for that to happen. So I just got rid of it. I was like, I want global shipping on everything because my international sales just like went away.
And there were other people that had tried it too and said the same thing, where that when they did that exception, then suddenly everything they sold overseas was always being done on first class.
Every country.
So, although we had someone in the comments say that they did it and it works for them, so
yeah, some people it works for and it didn't work for us. So I can't figure out why it works for some people and it doesn't work for others. At this point, I'm like, I just want global shipping to be turned on and I don't care.
Yeah,
so that's my.
Although the one guy that emailed me that said that it worked for him he said even though he made the exception for Australia, England, and Canada.
Yeah.
He says his sales haven't gone up any. So it's just to me too, I feel like I know people say that they get those emails from buyers who complain about global shipping and say, I don't want to buy it through global,
It's just like, it's so minimal that
I feel like most buyers don't care because if you're trying to sell something special, they don't really care. So.
And my thing too is I really love the protection you get from using global shipping. Like, I can't tell you that, when I stopped using global shipping for like 2 weeks or whatever, I shipped stuff out and people were like, I haven't gotten this yet. I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what was wrong with doing this before. Right. Like, I want global shipping to be like, eBay's in charge of it.
We love, you only have to ship it to Kentucky, a warehouse there. And once it's there, eBay takes over.
It's out of our hands. Yep. It's like, the great thing is Kentucky's like one state away from us, so it always gets there.
On the blog too this week, I feel like we had a good conversation. We've been getting kind of a wave of new people that have either found us on the blog or maybe they've just now started to feel like they're willing to talk publicly about their store and ask its questions. But these people were sharing how their income has grown over the past, 12 months.
Yes.
And it was good. People started to say, like, because they've started to work on their store more and put more things in their inventory that people were actually posting how much they made, $30,000, $11,000, $86,000.
Now, it wasn't just because they were putting more inventory in. It was because they were not selling things for $5 and not putting things on auction all the time.
It's not to toot our own horn, but I feel like people found what we found.
Right.
This a method of being more patient.
Right.
And thinking of your eBay store as an actual store rather than you're just trying to like dump stuff as quickly as possible.
A fixed price store. I mean, granted, there's best offer like we were just talking about, but it's a more stable environment.
But what was interesting is that there are the people that I feel like they're saying that it works for them and they're happy. Then there were a group of people that said, well, I'm trying this too, but it's working. I'm not making the money I need. I feel like my expenses are more than what I'm making. And then when we ask more questions, we all start to realize that some people might be listing a lot, but they're still listing junky stuff.
Like, we went further into it and a few people were like, yeah, I'm selling like a DVD at a time for like $3. I'm like, I mean, you're not going to make a living.
Or,
that.
a VHS tapes for $5, and so that's costing them whatever, 20 cents a month to keep up. And so if it takes 5 months to sell it and they only sell it for $4, just the listing fee takes up a big part of that.
Yeah.
So that's why we say it's kind of a combination of things. It's trying to list as much as possible, but it's listing things that are going to sell for $30 or more. And the only way you're going to know that is just by doing the research.
Yeah.
And if you end up with big piles of stuff that end up only being worth $5.
Bundle it.
Our advice is, if you really don't want to give it away, is to bundle it and just sell it at an auction even. Just get rid of it. But the point is, don't let that stuff hang over you. Like, that shouldn't even be considered your inventory.
Yeah.
If something's not going to sell for $30, don't even think of it as inventory. It's not even a real thing for you.
Yeah.
Because you aren't going to make a living.
Yeah. So it was good to hear that. I think that's what always happens when it's been the case with like other people in the beginning, when they're like, eBay is horrible and they kicked me off. And you really dig down, you go back, and you find the real reason why things aren't selling or not making enough money. There are reasons behind it.
I mean, like a story I seem to hear, or that I heard it recently, was someone, their parents died, and basically they're trying to build their store on their parents' old stuff.
Right.
Which is cool. It's all this free inventory. Unfortunately, all their parents' stuff really isn't worth a whole lot of money. So they're trying to build their store on stuff that just really isn't worth much.
Yeah.
And then they seem confused why, they aren't making the kind of money that everyone else is making. And I always point to Steve Schultz, who's on the blog. We interviewed him this past year. He rarely has more than about 500 items in his store at any one time. He posts numbers every week. He often makes as much or close to what we make, and we have, 6 times what he has in our store. It's because he's just a really good scavenger. He doesn't list things, because I've seen his store, he doesn't list things that are worth really often under $50.
Yeah.
And oftentimes he's selling things for $100 or more, because he's just putting the time into finding the things that are worth items, so he's not being bogged down by just junky stuff.
Right. I'm like, so sell more stuff that's worth more.
And then the last thing in the comments of the blog, which we appreciate, is people were really kind, helping teach us about Amazon. We'd asked last week about, like, how do we know when we get the refund from Amazon that someone returned from us.
How do I find where that information is?
And so we now saw that, and people explain that Amazon always takes a fee for giving you a refund.
They take a restocking fee even though it's fulfilled by you, essentially.
It's really interesting,
I'm
why
like, what the hell?
People always complain about eBay. I feel like if eBay did something like that, people would go crazy.
God.
And so my question is, again, maybe the answer is I need to just Google it. The question I have is, can you put a restocking fee it yourself? So if someone returns an item, can I say...
I think you can. I still have not been able to figure out how. I have to, look again. Because I was... Basically, Amazon is a second thing for me, so I'm just like, eh.
Yeah.
I gotta just go in and do it. I'm pretty sure you can, though.
So our coming week, this week again, we don't travel for another 2 months, so we're really enjoying being home, and we're just going to do another full-time week. I mean, we have nothing else to do right now except eBay.
Yeah.
Like, our rental house is finished, and it's on the market, and we've gotten a reservation, but we're just we have to remember that it's kind of like eBay. We have no real control. We can't force people to rent this place, but it's still a winter time, and we cross our fingers as springtime comes that
there'll be rentals.
People will pop up.
Yep.
Yeah. Are we going to do anything else? Is this week or just list?
Oh God! If we do anything else, I'll go crazy because we just have to. Our house is filled. I can't even walk through the living room because there's I
have all this
stuff that has to get photographed.
I have all this artwork on the ground that I'm taking pictures of.
I'm just stepping over it.
Now, when you have a crazy week where you list so much, does it burn you out, or are you going to be able to? No, it doesn't burn me out.
It just, if I did it that crazy every single day, I would go a little bit crazy. But I think if you make sure you take breaks and stuff, all I'm doing is sitting here. So it's not like physically tiring.
Right,
Mentally it is.
But if it's boring, then...
No, I don't. When I have like folders of miscellaneous stuff, it's kind of fun because it's so random.
Mm-hmm.
We like to list like things together, but sometimes you just have a pile of like the weirdest stuff. But that's cool because then you just have a chance to kind of switch off and research things. And if you already know, what something is, it's really fast to list it. You're like, yep, it's a coffee mug. It's awesome. It's totally $25. Done.
Good.
Do 5 of those in a row.
Good.
It's fast. So
yeah, cool. So we're gonna do another 100 this week.
As long as nobody distracts me and is like, come on, we gotta go do this thing in town.
Who would that be?
Hint, hint. I'm just like, no, I don't want to leave the house. If I have to go do some crap in town, I'll go crazy. Because your whole day is gone. The dentist and taxes, that whole day was gone. It was just like, nothing got done that day. Yep. So as long as it's like concentrated, like focused, like nothing else is happening, I'm sitting down, do not talk to me, give me a cookie and some coffee and leave me alone.
All right. Okay, I like it.
That's all I want.
I like it.
Okay, let us take phone calls now.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions that are emailed, and then we got some phone calls. We do this every week. You can call us and leave us a message. We never pick up.
It is 540-407-8486.
It only allows you to leave a message up to
3 minutes.
3 minutes.
So if your question is longer than 3 minutes, that's crazy. It does not need to be 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so let's take our first call.
Good morning. This is Cynthia calling from Dallas, Texas. I sincerely appreciate your advice and your podcast. I'm brand new to this and haven't listed anything yet. I'm on the verge, though. You suggested that someone new to eBay might want to begin by making purchases to create positive feedback. So I'd like to check out your online store, but I don't know how to find it. Can you tell me how to find Scavenger Life on eBay to look at what you have to sell? I might as well buy your things to get the positive feedback. Thank you so much. I appreciate you enormously. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Okay, so
we get this question so many times during the week.
And you know what? It's a good question. People go on our blog, and we don't link to our store. Right. But you know what? If you email us, we're glad to share our store with you. The only reason why we don't put our store name on the blog is just so, this podcast is for other people who sell. And not that it would be a bad thing if people that bought from us found our store, but, we talk about how much we pay things for. It's almost like someone buying something from us, they would kind of see all the secrets behind what we sell. And,
I mean, the other thing that I find so hilarious is we've gotten some emails where people are like just acting crazy, where they're like, I can't find Scavenger Life on eBay. Our store is not called Scavenger Life. This is a totally separate thing from our store. We started our store years ago, so that's not what our store is called. You can't find a store called Scavenger Life on eBay. We're totally separate from that.
Although it's many people have been able to find it on their own,
it's easy. So. I mean, the other thing, too, is we talk about stuff we sell every week. So if you look at completed listings, and you can probably find our listings pretty easily. But you can email us, and we will gladly give you the link to our store.
Cool.
That is not a problem.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Rachel. I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for your podcast. I discovered you about a year ago when I started selling on eBay. But I wanted to let you know that we are definitely kindred spirits when it comes to that scavenger lifestyle. I started scavenging with my grandpa when I was a little girl. We'd go to the dump together, and it was just like a treasure hunt. And now that I'm an adult, I live in a college town, and for the past 10 years, I have been having garage sales twice a summer, because college students can be very wasteful. When the semester is over in May, and then when students move again at the end of July, our town is like just a dumping ground. So I find things on the curb and have garage sales. So I've been doing this for about 10 years, and doing some research last year for things I was selling in my garage sale, I did research on eBay and discovered what the value of things were. And I started thinking, why don't I just sell things on eBay? Now I've been doing that for about a year. I found your podcast. You've been such a huge blessing. Thank you so much. It makes me sick now when I think about what I sold things for in my garage sales, because eBay is definitely much more profitable. It's been great, and I've learned so much from your podcast. I've listened to all of them. But here's my question. As I'm developing a larger inventory, I'm getting more and more shoes, which I really love to sell. But I'm wondering how you store your shoes. I have been putting most of mine in Rubbermaid containers, but I'm starting to notice that sometimes when I'll take the shoes out to mail them, some of them are kind of smashed, and I'm just worried that I might deform some shoes. So I wondered if you have a better way of storing shoes, or if anybody else has any suggestions. So that's my question. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Yes, college students are definitely wasteful. And there are a handful of college students that have commented on our blog, and we always encourage them. God, if they live around other college kids, like, they should be scavenging in the dumpsters and just on the streets around those college neighborhoods.
Around those dorms. And
oh, my God.
There's a big college near us. It's JMU, James Madison University. And I think we should go down to the dorms when we should, like, find out when the dorms close in the spring and just, like, go dumpster diving.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, I can imagine why yard sales would still be a good idea, because I can imagine you're also finding, like, mattresses and couches and big pieces of furniture and things that maybe that there'd be no way to ship on eBay.
Right, you can't do it.
So it'd probably be still a good idea to do yard sales if you're willing to take that big stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're never going to sell things at yard sales for the price you're going to get at eBay.
Never.
And that's why when you go to a yard sale and someone has like an eBay printout and trying to get an eBay price, it's insane, you know.
It's insulting to scavengers.
Right. So, yeah, that's cool.
So in terms of storing shoes, I mean, we don't squish them in a Rubbermaid bin, but we do store them in these, like, bins basically on top of each other. I mean, in plastic bags mostly.
So that's the difference for us, that our shoes they aren't smashed on each other. So there's plenty of room. So they sit on each other, but the really nice ones we put in plastic bags.
Right.
In clear bags, so we can see them.
They're the same bags that grocery stores use for produce.
So you can buy those online.
You can buy them on Amazon or eBay, whatever.
Real cheap.
And they're good because they're clear, because we would put some in, like, Walmart bags, and we'd be like, what shoes are these? I can't find them.
But things like, older boots and things that have scuffs on them already, it really doesn't matter. It's more like the ladies' shoes or the men's shoes that are really nice dress shoes.
Right.
So yeah, that's how we do it.
So that helps. You don't want to squish them down in a tub, but the plastic helps a lot. Keep them from getting scuffed.
Yeah. And and we do that now too for a lot of our hard items as well.
Yeah.
I just went and I invested in a lot of Ziploc bags. So
and we reuse them, so that they are expensive.
So we do put a lot of our stuff into those plastic tubs as well. But again, everything is in like bags.
Yeah.
And we just sell it, take the bag, and
we reuse it.
Use it again.
Because they are expensive.
Okay, so we got a question emailed to us that we'll share. A guy named Steve. Lots of Steves.
Lots of Steves and Brians.
So he says, a guy that I sold soccer shoes to just called me on my cell phone. He said he never received his item. I thought it was the wrong number, but he gave me the item, its number, and it did pop up on eBay. He said he tried to send me a message through eBay, but I never got anything. How the heck did he get my phone number?
So this is interesting because you can request people's phone numbers through the advanced search on eBay.
Now, a buyer or a seller can
request it. Now, you can't just request any user on eBay. You have to have been in a transaction with them. But the thing is, when either you or they request the number, it sends both of you a message with both of your contact information.
So that way everyone knows.
Everyone has,
a phone call might be made,
right. So the weird thing is when we asked Steve, did you get a message of like this guy asking for your phone number? He said no. I don't know how else they would have gotten the phone number.
Yeah.
That's the mystery.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't sound like it turned out bad. Steve just said that he, actually, he didn't ever write back. But, yeah. So, sometimes people, their eBay messages, I don't know. It should just be right there in eBay.
Yeah, it should just be right there.
Again, that's something to call eBay about. But just so it's clear, we've been selling for a long time now, thousands of items. We've only gotten one person who ever has called us, and it was also a surprise. There was some guy that bought some pants from us, and he was just an older man who I guess felt more comfortable on the phone, and he was asking us if he could buy more pants for us. And I was like, yeah, just buy them on eBay.
Actually, I got another phone call from either I called her or she called me about a projector. It was this like projector that she couldn't get it to work and whatever. Right. So she ended up, I don't know, she couldn't figure out how to like send me a proper message or something. So she was like, please call me. Yeah. So that, I mean, 2 out of, thousands.
Yeah. And it's interesting too on eBay, the old CEO, Meg Whitman, she actually bought Skype for like $1 billion back in 2005 or something, because her vision was there would be a Skype link on every item so a buyer could call you about anything. So
which nobody wants at all.
So it would be like a regular store where they could call you and you talk to them. And no one wanted to talk to customers that way. So
I mean, that's the beauty of having an online thing is you're just doing it through text. I mean, sometimes it makes more sense to call people, but
I mean, it's just like, what do you want me to say? Like, that's the stuff and that's the price. Like, I don't know.
Well, it's funny because when you ask people questions on eBay, sometimes it takes them a long time to answer. So maybe that's, they were thinking that like it'd be instant,
Yeah. So anyway, that was that question. Okay. We got another call.
Hey, Ryan and Jay, have a fantastic show. Thanks for all your help. This is Mark from Virginia. Question is, I have a basic store now on eBay, have almost 600 items, and was wondering how you knew when to move up to a premium store and then to the anchor store that you have now. I know that, obviously there's different prices along with that, but just wondering, when I should think about moving up to those other stores. Thanks for your answer, and thanks a lot for these podcasts. They've helped a lot. Thanks. Bye.
Great. So, very common question we get: how do you know when to get a store, or how do you know when to get better subscription to the store? And the only reason why this is important is because the bigger store subscription you subscribe to, it's just better. It's cheaper to list a list. So we always say, look at its numbers. So you can get a basic, it's premier, and an anchor. Yeah. And we have the anchor, the biggest one you can get
because it's the cheap. Because the numbers just make sense.
I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of old. It's fashion, and that eBay is going to have to drop this at some point. But because a listing should, I think, essentially be free because it doesn't, and eBay, like Amazon, should just take their fees out of what sells instead of
charging people to list.
And it always pains me when I hear it's new people, like they're allowing the listing fees to slow them down from a listing, and they're always trying to handle like, well, I'm getting 100 free listings here and 1,000 here.
It should just be free. It's like you say.
Yeah, I mean, so for us, it's just, when we knew that eBay was a real thing for us and that we were committed to making this a business, we were like, let's just subscribe. And we would just subscribe, as our listings got bigger. We were like, well, we're now outgrown the basics where we're paying more in listing fees. But if we went to here, we have to pay its monthly fee, but we're going to make, it's going to be cheaper.
Worth more, So it's all about the numbers. Make sure that, you have almost 600 items. So whatever store, what's your goal you're moving up to, buy the store for that goal,
Yeah, and, I think that's only scary, especially for its newer people. It just means that, you're committing to paying eBay a monthly fee.
Right.
So if you aren't really serious, it's like going to the gym or paying for a gym membership and not going to the gym, you know, and you're like, oh, I'm wasting all this money. So you just got to make sure that you're pretty committed to doing that.
Next voicemail.
Hey, I don't have a question, but I have a little story. I was listening to your podcast today, dated February the 16th of this year, and it reminded me of something that happened to me way back in around 1985. I took this seminar called Tom Vu's Profit Seminar, and it was this Korean guy that was going to teach you how to buy houses with none of your own money, and you were going to flip them. Of course, the word flip wasn't even invented back in those days. And you were going to make a whole bunch of money. Well, needless to say, I took the seminar, paid out the money. It was something like $800 or something, and it never panned out for me. Of course, I was only approximately 19 years old at the time and didn't have any sense anyway. But I can tell you all that money that was lost, which I really couldn't afford to lose back in those days, was a gift, because it taught me, if it's just like Jay said in this podcast, if it seems like it's too easy, it's not true. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. I love your little vids and so forth, and hope everything is going well for you guys. Oh, by the way, my name is Jack, and I live in Virginia. Thanks.
So, get-rich-quick schemes. They don't work.
I think this is a great story, and I'm sure as many of us have a similar kind of experience. I remember when I was, in like junior high, sixth grade, I was really into buying magazines. I mean, this was before the internet.
Buying magazines of what?
I feel like an old man here, so it's before the internet.
Yeah.
The way you would get info was either through watching TV or magazines. And so, I'd go down to the corner store in our neighborhood and I'd always pick up a magazine, about its music or something. And then in the back of the magazine, there are all these little ads.
Yeah.
Like how to build a hovercraft out of a vacuum cleaner, like where you could buy a thing, a map for it. Anyway, one of them had always been how to make thousands of dollars by just sending mail.
Oh, it was like what do you call a pyramid, like mail scheme?
It's like a pyramid, like it's like a mail chain.
Yeah, it was like you send $1 to 5 people,
and so I even bought this or sent it away, because I was young enough. Because it
you're
was
like 10 or something.
It kind of makes sense, where like if you send out 500 letters to people, it's with a list of names, and then those people put your name on it, and then everyone sends $1 to each other. Only reason why I didn't do it was because it meant I would have to go down to Walgreens and print out that piece of paper 500 times and then send 500 envelopes. So it was
it's a lot of money.
It was like $100 up front to actually get it all going.
Yeah.
And I remember I asked my dad about it, and he was just like, "That's stupid." Like it kind of makes me sad. He didn't actually explain to me why it wouldn't work. But obviously it makes sense now that, the reason why it doesn't work is 500 people don't send you money. There might be like 3 people that send you $1,
no one sends you $1.
It's just a big scam. So
the people making money are the ones like sending you the catalog how to do it.
The person that put the ad in, he's the one making the money, and that's just like
that seminar.
All this stuff now, this seminar, it's just like that stuff that you see on YouTube or on about Amazon, about drop
shippers.
Shipping. I think the only people making its money is the people that sell those subscriptions or those how-to books.
E-books.
They're the ones making money.
Yeah.
There's another story when I was in high school.
Yeah, you're like surrounded by these things.
A friend's mom.
Yeah.
Because my parents moved out of town. My dad got a new job, and I wanted to stay in. It's my school, so they let me stay with my friend.
Because you were in high school, you were a senior, right?
So I wanted to finish out school, so I was staying with a friend, and my friend's mom took me to a hotel to like a seminar.
It was like Amway or something,
and it turned,
right?
and I was pretty whatever. I was just young. I didn't, I trusted her, and it was like an Amway thing. I fell asleep during this presentation. It was so boring. Like I thought she took me because she just wanted like company or something. I don't know. And, I felt like I'm staying at these people's houses. I got to do what she says. So her idea is that I would become her little a seller, part of its network. When I went to college, I would sell, it was like health and beauty products.
Yeah, it was
her
like
idea was, she really thought that I would be willing to sell shampoo to college students.
You're first of all, you're a guy.
I just remember when she really did the whole pitch to me, and I realized she was serious.
You were like, "What are you talking?"
I basically just told her, "No, I mean, I don't want to do that." And then she didn't like me too much after that. Because,
no.
Anyway, but
that is quite a story, man.
So I hear you. I mean, that's why on this podcast, we aren't saying any of this money's easy.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of what we share here is about our lifestyle, because that's really what it's about. It's about how you live and do this work on a regular basis.
Right.
Versus we just telling you some secrets, just like,
here's this secret.
Do these 3 things and suddenly you're just going to make $1 million,
Right.
No, it's about like embracing the lifestyle of being a scavenger, consistently scavenging, consistently listing, and consistently selling stuff, and that it's something we do have to keep at,
I mean, basically, we talk about how we work.
Right.
It's not we do talk about how we don't work when we don't work, but it isn't about, like, I think we say this in our manifesto too. It's not about like secrets. It's about listing.
And it's one reason why we haven't like printed an ebook or
anything like that.
Some subscription course that other people do, just because I don't even know how I would do it. It's almost like here, I'm going to give you the ebook for free. Okay, page 1. Find a bunch of stuff and sell it and do it all the time and work hard and be smart and don't make its mistakes. Or when you make its mistakes, just don't do them again. I mean, it's like, that's what it is.
It's like basic business.
Yeah.
That's it, So anyway, I like that story because he's right.
Yeah.
If it's too easy, it's not true.
Yeah, and I just think about that guy in the dentist's office who's trying to sell coupon books.
Oy.
This middle-aged man, and that's his life. And,
Oof.
It doesn't have to be that way.
It's not that way.
Yep. All right, so this was kind of a marathon.
Jesus.
This might be our longest podcast ever.
This is a long one. Now I got to go edit this thing.
But we had a lot to talk about, and, it was a good week for us. And, we appreciate you being here, and hopefully you were able to get a lot done, a lot photographed and listed while you heard us.
Now keep going.
That's right. Okay, this podcast is ending in
3, 2, 1.
2, 1. Bye.